3 months before the wedding, to save up for a more expensive jewelry set for my fiancée, I was pulling all-nighters, working part-time gigs, even taking on delivery jobs. Today, I fought tooth and nail to snag a high-tip order, an express delivery of a proposal bouquet. The address was the new condo I had bought for my fiancée. When I rushed over, I found her and her childhood acquaintance locked in a passionate kiss. Someone laughed and asked, "Aren't you afraid your lapdog boyfriend will get mad?" My fiancé frowned. "He already has the rest of my life. For these last 3 months, I need to fulfill my own regrets." I smiled, personally handing her the flowers and offering my blessing. "In that case, don't leave any regrets. I wish you a long and happy life together." Chapter 1. Sincere Miller, is that you? Why are you working as a courier? Wait, are you following me? A flash of panic crossed Victoria Vaughn's eyes as she fired off questions, but her hand remained tightly intertwined with Ethan Shaw's. I didn't hear a single word she said. My head was buzzing and my chest felt so tight I could barely breathe. The bouquet was getting crushed in my grip. I fought to control my emotions and looked at Victoria, hoping she would give me an explanation. Why was the woman I had loved for 8 years proposing to another man behind my back? And that man was Ethan, someone she had always insisted she saw as a little brother. And what was this regret she was talking about? The once lively atmosphere fell silent. Under everyone's stares, Victoria looked uncomfortable. She snatched the bouquet from my hand, her voice laced with anger. "We were just acting for a video. What's with the sarcastic attitude? You've ruined the whole mood. Now we have to shoot that scene all over again." My face darkened, and I asked through gritted teeth, "What kind of proposal scene requires you to star in it personally, and to film it here? This is our new home, not yours and his. What's yours? Mine or his? Ethan is my brother, and you're his brother-in-law. What's the big deal if we use it for a bit? Why are you being so petty all of a sudden? If you can't stand it, then leave. I specifically chose today because I knew you'd be working overtime. Who knew you'd suddenly show up?" My mouth opened, but no words came out. I had worked up a sweat rushing over, but now an icy chill washed over me. My fists clenched. I turned my head and my eyes were drawn to a pile of colorful shards on the floor. Realizing what it was, I hurried over and pushed aside the confetti from the party poppers, revealing a shattered vase. It was the souvenir vase we had made together on our first anniversary, with our names and the date engraved on it. When we were decorating the new place, I had put it in the most prominent spot. Because it was our first time trying pottery, the vase was far from perfect, but it marked the beginning of our love. Now the scattered pieces on the floor were a stark reminder that our long journey together was ending in failure. Seeing this, Victoria pursed her lips and softened her tone slightly. "Okay, I'm sorry. I was just on edge and took it out on you. The vase, we got too into the scene, and Ethan accidentally knocked it over. You can just buy a new one later." Ethan, standing behind her, stepped forward, subtly positioning himself in front of Victoria, a triumphant look he couldn't hide in his eyes. "Sincere, don't blame Sis V. She was just trying to help me out. Don't worry, I'll clean everything up before I leave." I let out a bitter laugh and asked in a low, unwilling voice, "Don't you remember what this was?" Victoria, however, was just toying with her hair and said casually, "It was just an ugly vase. I've been meaning to ask why you hadn't thrown it out yet. It's better that it's broken." It felt like a giant hole had been stabbed through my heart, a numbing pain spreading through me. A single tear fell onto a porcelain shard. She had forgotten long ago. I was the only one cherishing that memory. Victoria was my first love, a woman I had pursued for 5 years. She told me she felt insecure about love. So I scrimped and saved, and at the beginning of the year I finally bought a small condo, paid in full, under her name. She then accepted my proposal. I was ecstatic for a long time. I visited numerous jewelry stores and picked out a pricey gold set, planning to surprise her with it on our wedding day. I never thought she'd be the one to surprise me first. They started their so-called proposal scene again. Watching her hold the flowers with a shy expression, professing her love for Ethan, I felt like the clown in this farce. Noticing my gaze, Ethan shot me a provocative glance, then swept Victoria into his arms, spun her around a few times, and kissed her again. 8 years of love, so much effort, all for this. Suppressing my emotions, I quietly turned and walked away. If they want to get married, let them. I don't want this fiancé anymore. Chapter 2. I returned to my apartment alone when my best friend Gavin Price called. "Congrats, bro, you finally made it." My throat was dry. I thought he'd heard about my engagement from someone and was calling to congratulate me. Just as I was about to say something, he continued, "How come only your girlfriend posted on Instagram? I don't see anything from you. And she didn't even show your faces. If I hadn't recognized the rings you asked me about, I wouldn't have known it was you. Have you been short on cash lately because you're getting ready for the wedding? I've got a project I can outsource to you. You keep the profits. Think of it as a wedding gift from me." Confused, I cut him off. I quickly opened Instagram and saw a new post from Victoria. There were no faces, just the shadows of two people embracing sweetly on the wall. The caption read, "Love is worth capturing." I stared at my phone, at the matching rings I had so carefully chosen now on another man's hand. My chest heaved. Nothing hurts more than being betrayed by the one you love most. In that moment, I truly felt like my 8 years of devotion had been thrown to the dogs. Victoria never liked me posting anything about her on social media. Since we started dating, we had never taken a single photo together. On the day I proposed, I begged her to post just once for me, but she told me, "Couples who show off break up fast. It's better if we just live our lives quietly." She even took my ring, saying, "This is too expensive to get scratched up. Let me keep it safe and I'll bring it out on our wedding day." At the time, I thought she was just trying to protect our relationship, unwilling to share it with others. How ridiculous that seems now. Perhaps it was just because, in her eyes, I wasn't someone worth capturing. I took a deep breath and quickly explained the situation to Gavin, who listened while cursing her out and trying to comfort me. "That startup idea you mentioned before, is it too late for me to join, to build a stable home with Victoria?" I had turned down my friend's business proposals multiple times, content to stay in the city where she worked. Now, there was no reason to stay. Of course not out of our whole dorm. You had the best tech skills. If it wasn't for Victoria, never mind. We're heading to Crestwood next week to scout a new office location. You should come along and get familiar with things. If we decide on it, that's where we'll be focusing our business. After finalizing the details with my friend, my phone buzzed with a notification that my delivery order was complete. Victoria had tipped me $20 along with a message. "Don't be mad. Go buy yourself something nice to eat. I'll make it up to you tomorrow." I didn't cash it out, I just uninstalled the app. I didn't want this kind of charity. Chapter 3. A second later, I received a Venmo transfer from Victoria, and a message from her. "Sincere Miller, why didn't you wait for me? Why did you leave on your own? Anyway, use this money to buy yourself some late-night snacks. I'll explain everything that happened tonight tomorrow." But what was there to explain? The events of the evening were seared into my mind. I moved my finger over the block button, hesitated for a few seconds, then returned to the chat window. I typed and deleted "let's break up" over and over. Finally, frustrated, I tossed my phone aside and lay on the sofa in a daze, looking around the room. My tiny 200-square-foot rental was filled with her photos. An 8-year relationship isn't something you can just sever in an instant. Before breaking up, there were things I had to understand. If I was going to lose, I needed to lose with my eyes open. I ended up falling asleep on the sofa like that. Early the next morning, there was a loud banging on the door. "Sincere Miller, open up." "Why is the door locked?" Rubbing my aching forehead, I squinted at my phone. It wasn't even 6 a.m. I sighed and opened the door for Victoria, only to find Ethan Shaw there too. He was pressed up close behind Victoria, looking fragile and innocent. "Sincere Miller, what's wrong with you? Didn't you know I was coming back? You don't answer your phone, and you lock the door." I've practically shouted my throat raw. Victoria complained non-stop. At the same time, she led Ethan by the hand into my living room, had him sit down and started getting him tea and water, just like I used to do for her. Noticing my silence, Victoria's hand paused as she poured the water, and she explained, "Our wedding is just for show. Ethan's mother has terminal liver cancer, and her last wish is to see him settled down." Then she glanced at Ethan, put a hand on my arm, and lowered her voice. "Besides, Ethan was recently diagnosed with stage 2 stomach cancer. If he can't fulfill his mother's wish, I'm worried it will affect his mood for the treatment ahead." I frowned slightly and pulled my arm away. I looked at the rosy-cheeked Ethan and smirked. If I hadn't seen the table full of red wine, sashimi, and barbecue last night, I might have actually believed her. Once, I developed stomach problems from working overtime and pulling all-nighters. I was in so much pain that I fell down the stairs, hitting my head and bleeding. I called her, only to get a cold reply. "It's just a little bump, you'll be fine. I'm in the middle of something important, don't bother me." In the end, it was a neighbor who found me lying on the floor and called an ambulance for me. Afterward, she never once asked about my condition. Instead, she was angry at me for a long time because I couldn't pick her up from work. Later, I saw from Ethan's social media what that important thing was. She had gone to a basketball game with him. It turns out, you can see the difference between love and non-love in the small details of life. I was just blinded by love back then. Ethan suddenly started coughing violently, his face flushing red, though he couldn't suppress the smirk on his lips. "Sincere, don't worry. We're just getting fake married. Sis V is still yours." I ignored him. My gut told me this wasn't the answer I was looking for. The real answer was in her regret. "Victoria, you're still not telling the truth. Tell me about that regret. Maybe then I can understand." Chapter 4. Victoria froze, her face a mask of conflict as if she were fighting a final internal battle. After a long moment, she finally spoke. "Because the person I wanted to marry most when I was little was Ethan's older brother, Elias Shaw. My family was very traditional and favored boys. I was often hungry and had to do a lot of chores, but his brother would secretly give me food and help me with my work. He was such a kind boy, but he didn't live past the age of 10. Looking at Ethan's calm expression, it was clear he knew all of this. I gave a bitter laugh and asked her, "So I was his replacement? Have you felt nothing for me at all these past 8 years?" Victoria frowned. "Don't be so dramatic. His brother was only 10 when he died. How could I treat you as his stand-in? You've been very good to me too. I've never had to do any housework, you're willing to give me money, and you put the condo in my name. I was perfectly willing to marry you. Don't worry, the person I love now is you. Once Ethan gets better, I'll settle down and live a good life with you." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. So Victoria knew I was good to her. For 8 years I took care of everything, big and small, at home. I did my best to meet all her demands. The reason she could so casually downplay her cheating now was that she was taking my kindness for granted, because in her eyes it was all to be expected. She said she loved me, but it was more accurate to say she just enjoyed what I did for her. I brought all of this on myself with the question in my heart answered. I suddenly felt a sense of release about this relationship. Seeing that I wasn't arguing, Victoria relaxed and continued, "Sincere Miller, Elias is gone. I can't just watch his younger brother die so young too. When you proposed to me, you said you would listen to me from now on. Since you know everything now, it's not too much to ask for you, as his brother-in-law, to look after him, right? Ethan will be living with us for a while. If you mind him staying at the new place, then you can pack your things and give him your room here." Then she picked up a food container from the side. "Oh, right. You didn't wait for us last night, so Ethan urged me to come back and check on you this morning. Your stomach is weak, so I went out of my way to buy you some fish chowder from the corner diner before coming over. It's still hot. We're going to pick out a wedding dress later. You should come with us." I quickly waved my hands. "No need. Your wedding has nothing to do with me. Victoria, let's break up." Chapter 5. Victoria's smile vanished. Her brow furrowed in annoyance. "Sincere Miller, didn't I just explain everything clearly? And you still want to break up with me?" Ethan, who had been sitting on the side, suddenly stood up and knelt before me, grabbing my pant leg. Disgusted, the moment he touched me, my anger flared and I kicked him away forcefully. He fell to the ground dramatically, then started beating his chest, not forgetting to sneak a glance at Victoria's expression before he did. "Sincere, hit me if it makes you feel better, just don't break up with Sis V. This is all my fault. It's all because I'm a loser who can't find a wife. I might as well just go die with my mom." The next second, something hit my back hard. The scalding hot chowder soaked through my clothes, and my skin quickly turned red. Victoria rushed over to stop Ethan, her voice filled with concern as she roared at me. "Enough. Sincere Miller. Have you made enough of a scene? He's a patient. If anything happens to him, I'll hold you responsible with the two of them putting on this act." I was the one who looked like the bad guy. I couldn't help but sneer. I wanted a family, that much was true, but I had no interest in being a total sucker. Taking a deep breath, I looked coldly at the two of them on the floor. "Victoria, let me make this clear today. We're breaking up. The money I gave you in the past, I don't want it back. But the condo was for our wedding. Since we're not getting married, you need to find a time to transfer the title back to me." The mention of the condo seemed to hit a nerve. Victoria shrieked, "Sincere Miller, do you have any conscience? I gave you 8 years of my youth, and now you're using the condo to threaten me. No wonder you were responsible for your parents' death. You've been selfish since you were a child. The reason you have nightmares every night is because of your guilty conscience." My breath caught in my throat. My hands clenched into fists as I glared at her, the disappointment in my eyes deepening. My parents' death was a lifelong wound. As a child, I had been throwing a tantrum, demanding a toy. To get it before the store closed, my parents rushed out on a rainy night and got into a car accident. I was the only survivor. Whenever it stormed, I would remember the image of my parents dying horribly in front of me. Because I cared about Victoria, I had shared my pain with her without reservation. Now she was using it as a weapon to defend Ethan and stab me in the heart. Suppressing my rage, I yelled, "Shut up and get out of my house right now," startled. Victoria froze for a moment, then stared at me with red-rimmed, resentful eyes. "Sincere Miller, even if we break up, you can forget about getting the condo back, or I'll fight you to the death. And you'd better not regret this. We'll see how you come crawling back to me, Ethan. Let's go." Leaning on Victoria, Ethan slowly got to his feet, a glint in his eyes. After they left, I went to my room to treat the burn on my back with some ointment. When I came out, I noticed Victoria had left her purse behind. So I packed up everything of hers in the apartment into trash bags and took them downstairs, along with her purse. I found the two of them still standing at the bottom of the building. Their faces were flushed and they were breathing heavily. Clearly, something had just happened. Ethan had his arm around Victoria's waist and asked tentatively, "Sis 5, Sincere actually wants the condo back? Doesn't that mean you wasted all these years on him?" Victoria pouted and said defiantly, "Don't worry. It's not the first time we've fought. He's just angry. In a few days I'll give him an easy way out, and he'll come crawling back like he always does." As she finished, she looked up and saw me standing in the stairwell. She guiltily pushed Ethan away. Seeing the bags in my hand, her expression shifted to one of "I knew it," and she turned her head away haughtily. I let out a derisive laugh. Right in front of them, I threw the trash bags, purse and all, into the dumpster. Victoria's face went from white to green, and she started screaming curses, but I just walked away without a backward glance. Garbage belongs in the trash can. That goes for food, and for love, too. Chapter 6. Because of all this mess, I contacted Gavin Price and moved up our business trip. Over the next few days, my phone was flooded with angry messages from Victoria's friends, all scolding me, saying a grown man shouldn't doubt Victoria's love for me, especially after she'd been with me for 8 years. They kept trying to vouch for her, insisting that she and Ethan were completely innocent, a bunch of blatant liars. They were the ones who had been cheering the loudest that night. I blocked them all. At the same time, I messaged my lawyer, telling him to speed up the lawsuit to get the property title back. That day from my apartment, I had overheard Ethan repeatedly asking Victoria about the condo. The way he looked at her wasn't the look of someone in love. It was hard not to suspect that he was after the condo. After sending the message, I opened an online forum to see if anyone had responded to my private message asking for leads on Ethan back in his hometown. If Ethan was really after the condo, he would definitely try to trick Victoria into legally marrying him. Even though I paid for the condo in full, once it became their joint marital property, a lawsuit would get very complicated. The city was too far from his hometown. Hiring a private investigator now would take time. Posting a paid request for information in their local community was a long shot, but I had to try my luck. Work went smoother than expected. Afterward, Gavin booked a private room, and a few of the partners sat around chatting. A toast, everyone welcomed Sincere to the team, and here's to the successful launch of our business here in Crestwood. May our game be a massive hit when it goes live. The steam from the hot pot rose around us, and after a glass of red wine and the sound of my friend's hearty laughter, much of my recent gloom began to lift. Suddenly, I got a call from an unknown number. I glanced at it, assumed it was a spam call, and ignored it, continuing to chat with my friends. A moment later, my phone buzzed with a picture and a text message from the same number. It was a photo of Ethan and the others holding a marriage certificate in the wedding home I had personally decorated. My pupils contracted. The one thing I didn't want to happen had happened. The picture came with a message: "If you want the rest of the info, call this number." I made an excuse to Gavin and the others, returned to the hotel early, and dialed the number. A young voice came through the line. "You'll pay $500 for a lead on Ethan Shaw, Chapter 7. I asked calmly, "Yes, but how can I be sure what you're saying is true?" And what if you take the money and don't give me the information? Why don't you start by telling me where you got that picture? On my way back to the hotel, I had unblocked Victoria and Ethan on social media, but neither of them had posted that photo. I still didn't know who this person was or how they got the picture. On my end, I quietly connected my phone to my computer. I had studied programming. Tracing an IP address from a phone wasn't difficult for me. Sure enough, the person on the other end spoke with the swagger of a small-time hoodlum. None of your business how I got it. I not only have what you want, but I also know you're the ex of his new wife if you transfer the money quickly, and I'm in a good mood. I might tell you a little something about him. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind having a little business chat with him instead. But I'd advise you not to be penny-wise and pound-foolish, buddy. I raised an eyebrow but didn't indulge him. Using the address, I hacked into a nearby security camera and said calmly, "Fine. I already know who you are anyway. You're at an internet cafe on a certain street in a certain city right now. Let's see. Are you the one wearing the black hat and red flip-flops?" I moved the mouse across the screen, watching as the person shot up from their chair and looked around frantically. I could hear his muttered curses over the phone. Intimidation was the best way to deal with punks like him. I softened my tone and said, "Let's do this honestly. As long as you give me what I need, I'll pay you. But if you try to pull a fast one, you can't blame me for what happens next." After a moment, he sent over the rest of the pictures one by one. I learned from the hoodlum that Ethan had racked up high-interest gambling debts back home. He had secretly sold his family's ancestral home behind his parents' back, but it wasn't enough to cover the hole. By the time his parents found out, he had already taken his ID and skipped town. With no source of income, he used his good looks to make a living by scamming women. He would post pictures on a separate private account, which attracted a lot of followers. If someone was willing to pay, he would even sell the women's personal information. Some victims had reported him to the police, but he was always quick to disappear and was never caught. I clicked through the pictures, looking at photo after photo of them together. Each one was dated by Victoria, with a note about her mood that day. The timeline stretched back 5 years. Every pair of sneakers Ethan wore was expensive. I even recognized one pair that I had seen in Victoria's online shopping cart. It was close to my birthday at the time, and I thought it was a surprise she was preparing for me. I was secretly excited for weeks, but on my birthday after midnight, all I received was a measly $5 Venmo transfer. She said she had invested in a new financial product to save for our future kids. She said a simple birthday was fine. Only now did I understand. She wasn't planning for our future at all. She was just spending all my money to keep her dear little brother happy. But seeing all this now didn't stir any emotion in me. After getting what I wanted, I promptly transferred the money to the guy and added, "Let's work together again. You keep an eye on his recent activities. Once I report him and he's arrested, I'll send you another $200. But if he gets tipped off and runs, I'll report you as his accomplice." The hoodlum laughed awkwardly and finally promised me he would monitor Ethan closely. After forwarding the evidence to my lawyer, I called Victoria. She answered instantly, her voice slurring with drunkenness. "Sincere Miller, you finally decided to call me? I've missed you so much these past few days, I realized I can't live without you. Can we not break up, please? When you get back, Ethan and I will apologize to you. Just forgive me this one time. The other day, Mindy was showing off her new designer bag right in front of me, and I was so mad. Can you send me some money? I know you love me the most." My mouth twitched. Victoria was still living in a fantasy world. Fighting back my disgust, I told her when I would be back. After all, the couple was newly married. It would be rude not to prepare a big gift. Chapter 8. When the day came, I arrived on time. The one who opened the door was Ethan. With his hands in his pockets, he leaned lazily against the doorframe, looking every bit the man of the house, and said with a malicious grin, "Smelled trouble and came running, huh? You really are a lapdog. Are you that interested in becoming the third person in our family? I have to say, that bed you picked out, it's incredibly comfortable." I raised an eyebrow and said coolly, "You don't actually think having a marriage certificate gives you a claim to this condo, do you?" At my words, Ethan immediately stood up straight, his eyes darting around nervously. "Sincere, you're back, come on in." Victoria came out of the kitchen wearing an apron. The dining table was covered with food. She lowered her head shyly. "It's my first time cooking all this. I'm not sure if you'll like it." I glanced at the table but didn't expose the fact that the food was clearly takeout. I got straight to the point. "You said you wanted to apologize to me. Let's hear it." Victoria stood frozen, forcing an awkward smile as she fidgeted. What happened before was my fault. I didn't discuss it with you beforehand, and I was wrong. I apologize. But I only see Ethan as a little brother. Please believe me, you're the one I love. We've been together for 8 years. I can't live without you. Hearing this, I couldn't help but scoff. You love me, so you want me to be the other man? If you still intend to marry me, don't you know that's bigamy? Victoria's eyes widened and her face flushed red. How did you know about the marriage certificate? Wait, no, believe me, I'll divorce him as soon as his mother passes away. I didn't reply, simply shifting my gaze to Ethan. The next second, Victoria stepped in front of him. This has nothing to do with him. I was just trying to help him. Victoria's mouth said she loved me, but her body's actions were far more honest. Just then, the doorbell rang, followed by a series of frantic knocks. I smiled. Go on, open it. I had some gifts delivered. Hearing this, Victoria's spirits instantly lifted. She thought the designer bag I bought for her had arrived and eagerly ran to the door. Auntie, what are you doing here? Aren't you in the hospital for a serious illness? Chapter 9. Beside me, Ethan's face paled and he started to panic. A figure shoved Victoria aside and stormed in. A disheveled-looking woman lunged at Ethan, screaming curses as she clawed at him. You little bastard, I should never have given birth to you, just go die. Red scratches appeared on Ethan's face. He glared at me fiercely, then, as if realizing something, he shoved his mother away. Let go of me. If you two weren't so useless, would I have had to resort to gambling? With that, he made a frantic dash for the door. But several plainclothes police officers appeared, and 2 of them quickly tackled him to the ground. You heartless, prodigal son. You drove your father to his death, do you even know that? Ethan's mother tried to lunge at him again, but was held back by another officer. It all happened so fast that it took Victoria a moment to process everything. Mrs. Shaw, Ethan is still sick. Why are you hitting him, and weren't you too sick to even get out of bed? What's this about Mr. Shaw being driven to his death? Ethan's mother looked up numbly and stared at Victoria, asking uncertainly, Are you Mr. Lynn's girl, Victoria Vaughn? The next second her expression turned vicious, and she grabbed Victoria by the hair. You tramp. It's all because of you that worthless boy said he did it all for you. That's why he started gambling and got into so much debt. Why should our house be mortgaged to loan sharks while you get to live comfortably in a nice condo? Give me back my money. Even a fool would have realized something was wrong. Victoria broke free from Martha Shaw's grip and asked Ethan in disbelief, Your mom is lying, right? You don't have any gambling debts. You just went to start a business, didn't you? Pinned to the floor, Ethan guiltily lowered his head and said nothing. Ethan Shaw, where did my money go? Tell me. Victoria lunged at Ethan in a frenzy, while his mother refused to let her go. The 3 of them started brawling again, and the scene descended back into chaos. I picked up some peanuts from the table and stepped aside to watch the show. Such a brilliant spectacle was truly satisfying to watch. In the end, the police had to forcibly take everyone down to the station. Chapter 10. I was also taken to the police station to give a statement. From the other room I could hear the distinct shouts of Victoria and the others. Ethan Shaw, you bastard, how dare you lie to me, tramp. Give me back my family's money, or I won't let you go after understanding the whole situation. The officer patted me on the shoulder and filled me in on more details. To fund his gambling addiction, Ethan had been playing both sides. He lied to Victoria about having a terminal illness and lied to his parents, saying he needed a $50,000 bride price to marry Victoria. All the money he got his hands on, he lost at the tables. I was the most innocent person in this whole mess. Now, Ethan's mother was convinced that Victoria had taken the money, while Victoria insisted that Ethan had scammed her out of everything and refused to admit anything. She had truly dug her own grave. But this was all her own doing. When I left the station, Victoria's clothes were torn and she looked utterly defeated. When she saw me, she started crying, saying she had been deceived. But I cut her off. Victoria, I've already broken up with you. I don't want to get involved in your affairs. The money I gave you before, I don't want it back. But I've already filed a lawsuit with my lawyer for the condo. If you have any decency left, you'll transfer the title back to me as soon as possible. Otherwise, we'll see each other in court. With red-rimmed eyes, Victoria screamed, Impossible, the condo is in my name, it's mine, what right do you have to take it back? Then, as if a thought struck her, she sniffled, and her tone softened again. She tugged at my sleeve. Sincere, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Let's forget all the unpleasantness and start over. We're supposed to get married in 3 months, aren't we? We haven't even taken our wedding photos yet. I see it clearly now. You're the only one who's truly good to me. I have nothing left now. I can't lose you too. Watching her self-pitying repentance, I laid the truth bare. I know you regret it. But I also know you're just afraid of losing a personal ATM who does whatever you want, and afraid of losing your life as a princess who never has to do chores. There's no point in talking anymore. If you refuse to cooperate, then wait for the court summons. The lease on my rental had expired before I returned. Since I was planning to move to Crestwood, I hadn't renewed it. I hailed a nearby taxi and went to the nearest hotel. But that night, Victoria called me again. Her voice was terrifyingly low. "Why did you give up the apartment? And your company said you've taken a 2-week leave. Where did you go on your business trip?" I just replied calmly, "I'm planning to start a business in another city, but that has nothing to do with you anymore." But Victoria just laughed. "Start a business, or you've found a new, younger girlfriend? So that's why you wanted to break up with me and take back the condo. I see you're just a fickle cheater, Sincere Miller, let me tell you. If you think you can get rid of me that easily. You're dreaming for 8 years. I ate with you, drank with you, slept with you. That condo is my compensation. If you want to break up with me, you have 3 days to give me another $50,000, otherwise I'll die for you to see." My face darkened. Victoria. But she had already hung up. I rubbed my temples and called my lawyer. Victoria had lost her mind. I was afraid something unexpected might happen. I needed to be prepared. Sure enough, 3 days later, I was trending online. Because Victoria had jumped off a bridge. Chapter 11. Gavin Price told me about it while I was finalizing my resignation. The video had already gone viral. I opened my phone and saw Victoria sitting on the edge of a bridge, with passers-by constantly trying to talk her down. She was wearing a red wedding dress, caressing the wedding ring on her finger, and crying to the camera of a bystander. "Sincere Miller, you chose a better career and future for yourself, and I don't blame you. But I've always said I only wanted to marry you in this life. I'll go on ahead and wait for you." With that, she jumped. With that one simple sentence, she had nailed me to the pillar of shame. Some netizens mentioned, with varying degrees of accuracy, that I had bought a property for her before the wedding. Then, after a business trip, just 3 months before the wedding, I had called it off and demanded the property back. A mix of true and false information was swirled together, and netizens who didn't know the truth had already concocted hundreds of stories, but in every single one, I was the villain. My face was ashen. I never thought Victoria could be so vicious. She wanted to completely destroy my reputation. My former colleagues were giving me looks of contempt. I typed out a message instructing the marketing accounts I had already contacted to post everything about Victoria and Ethan online. I even spent a large sum on promotion. I wanted everyone to see it. Since she started it, she couldn't blame me for finishing it. The pictures and evidence quickly turned public opinion around, completely overwhelming Victoria's narrative. She tried to go live to play the victim, but the comments were filled with insults, and she was quickly forced to end the stream. In the end, she was detained for 15 days for defamation. My lawyer seized the opportunity to pressure her into signing over the property title. Once everything was settled, I paid no more attention to Victoria. I hired a property manager and moved away from the city. Chapter 8. 5 years later, our game was finally developed, and its sales far exceeded our expectations. The money we each made was enough to buy several houses. On a business trip, I returned to the city to sign the contract for selling the condo. I had put the condo on the market a year ago, but the price wasn't ideal. Recently, the market had picked up, so I quickly sold it. After signing the contract, I hired a cleaner to come and dust the old place. A thin woman wearing a mask arrived shortly after. I was looking down, dealing with some urgent messages, and said, "Hello, please clean the dust off all this furniture. If you want any of these decorations on the wall, you can take them. If not, just throw them out. It might take a few days to clean, so if you need the key, just get it from the property manager." But then I heard an unexpected voice. "Sincere Miller, you're finally back. I saw this condo listed on the platform looking for a cleaner, and I just knew you were back. I had to fight really hard to get this job." I froze for a second. I didn't recognize Victoria at first. I never thought I would see her again like this. I thought we would never cross paths again in this lifetime. The person who used to hate doing chores the most was now working as a cleaner. She looked much more worn out. Her once fair hands were now covered in wrinkles from years of cleaning, and her eyes looked exhausted. Time can wash away anything. Seeing Victoria now, all I felt was a sense of melancholy. She stood across from me, looking at me with a wronged expression, telling me how difficult her life had been these past few years. Because of the defamation incident, Victoria lost her original job. Without the condo, she had to use her savings to rent a small apartment. Later, after Ethan got out of jail after a few months, he and his mother latched onto her completely, since they were legally married. He dropped all pretenses, forcing Victoria to work during the day and come home at night to do their laundry and cook for them. I never realized how hard it is to work and take care of a household at the same time. I haven't been able to save any money all these years. And I haven't bought clothes over $100 or a bag over $1,000 in so long. Of course, when we were together, her salary was only a few thousand, just enough for her own living expenses. All her luxury purchases were funded by my money. To give her a life of comfort, I had pulled countless all-nighters and taken on so many freelance projects, but in the end, none of it could compare to the sweet words of her dear little brother. I nodded occasionally, my mind elsewhere, busy replying to messages from my wife and child. Chapter 9. Victoria unwillingly fidgeted with the hem of her clothes. Sincere, are you still single? Is there still a chance for us? I've learned how to do housework now. The fact that you didn't sell the condo for so many years must mean you still have feelings for me, right? My face turned cold, and I cut her off. I'm married. I have an adorable daughter, and I love them very much. As for the condo, that was just because the housing market had crashed. It's only now that prices have recovered that I could sell it. Don't overthink things. As for you, I hope we never see each other again for the rest of our lives. With that, I turned and left without looking back. The past was in the past. Now I have a perfect, happy family that lights my way home. For the rest of my life, I will walk hand in hand with my family toward a better future.